AP of the day 20. Look at that beautiful loading screen. So today's going to be a triple whammy in pursuit of me getting the meta done on Long Live the Lich. I've played a ton of this release doing this video. But what you're going to watch here are 3 story achievements all associated with this mission. And I'm going to leave quite a lot in, such as me walking here with Timey. Because I just got to say, I feel the desperate need to remark on this. The game looks so gorgeous to me at the moment. I don't know whether I can sort of be self-aggrandizing here and say that it's to do with just my reshade and some of the depth blur we'll see later. But I'm really enjoying having a nice zoomed-in camera. I think that there might have been a patch, you guys can tell me. One of the biggest problems with being nice and zoomed in and immersive playing the game for a long while now is if you're zoomed in too much, the speech bubbles cull out. It's an awful, awful, awful aspect of the game and the engine for rendering dialogue boxes that has, like, killed a lot of really beautiful moments. And right now, as I play this achievement today, I'm noticing that's not there. Maybe it's just because I'm on Lis and the exact way I have the camera set up has kind of helped or something. But I can get right up close to NPCs as they discuss things, and they don't cull away, which I love, because I think that the more zoomed in that the camera can be while everything still makes sense and you don't feel too constricted is exactly what the MMO should be striving for. And that text box thing's been something on my mind very much for upcoming Let's Play episodes and stuff, but I digress a little. The first achievement we're going for here is Loquacious Orator, and the point is on this trial scene to exhaust every possible option for Goric. Now this is actually, first of all, I'm extremely curious why I don't have the 2 bottom ones on the list there. Because as you'll see later, I actually have to repeat the instance to go back through. Maybe the first time I played this, I had someone else in charge, and they were choosing the options, and so I never got to see the other stuff. It's an interesting achievement in that what it's allowing the devs to do is get maximum value out of their development efforts doing branching dialogue, especially when it's branching dialogue to do with the commander, which, as we know, they have to voice 10 times per language, right? 30 times across the 3 localizations. So I think this is the kind of smart thing I'd be advocating for as a dev of this release. I'd want a reason for people to go back through. And actually, I want to take this time now, and it's a thing for this whole video, to point out this release here with Loquacious Orator and the other 2 we're going to see actually embrace the idea, once again, of repeating story instances to get achievements, of saying, no, you don't get it first time through, do it multiple times. Now that's something I've made, I think, an extremely strong case for, particularly over the most recent release with the Kralkatoric fight and, you know, splitting your focus between that and achievements and that general sense of unease that you always kind of get as you go through a story instance. And it's either, you know, at minimum a general sense of unease, trying to split your focus between an achievement and enjoying the story, or, you know, in worst case scenarios, you've basically pulled your player base entirely out of the story altogether because they care so much just about that AP. I think you also sort of self-cannibalize some of the replayability value and retention that you could get from just putting these achievements as a second time through. So I'm a big advocate for second time through achievements, and this release kind of did it. First with Loquacious Orator here, you'll notice I've now picked every option except asking for the Councillor's Trust, and it turns out the story's going to move on now. What I actually have to do is leave and come back a second time, listen to the conversation again, and do it again. Now, the fact that this one achievement here is a please repeat thing and it's pure dialogue maybe is a bit of a mishap, and I think will have garnered a bit more judgment from the community than otherwise deserved on the general concept, because, you know, standing around listening to dialogue isn't necessarily the most interesting thing, though this is obviously branching. And the content of the dialogue itself as well, I won't get into in this video. Obviously, I've got my recap videos that have done that already. But yeah, so that's the first one. And now these other 2, actually, you cannot do whatsoever until your second time through. If you look at my buff bar right now, I do not have eligibility for any achievements available. And so that's because this is Lis's first time in the instance. I'm playing Lis right now because I'm kind of enjoying her fashion wars, and I want to like Weaver, and, you know, I want to feel these Condi builds and see how that kind of stuff goes. So I'm on Lis, But Liz, I haven't played actively for ages, so she's never done this release, which meant that she wasn't getting credit. So there we just had an edit. And basically, that edit is all night of gameplay, really, for me, where I beat the entire patch on list between these two sections. I went all the way through this instance, did another, and I tried to get an achievements as I went. I tried to get an achievement where you beat Kanak to planting the seeds, and I messed that up. I tried to get an achievement with the laser beams in Gandara, the Moon Fortress, and I messed that up. But I only messed that up because when one of the boss fights started, I just happened to be standing on a laser beam, and that was pretty unfun, to tell you the truth. And I tried several open world achievements as well, including breaking cannons and stuff for the Tyrian Service Medal, which gets you a back piece and stuff. All of which I failed, really. So I ended up back here in this instance, and now, if you notice, on my buff bar, I have 2 achievements available, so these will be the next ones we go for. First one is to do with bugs. It's called Squish Squish. And we're gonna deal with something with the Scarab Plague here. But yeah, let's take a look at the footage. Let's enjoy this here for a second. It's amazing, isn't it? Look at the pyramids in the background. Obviously, you've got the incredible spectacle of that ship's actually sailing towards us. It will come into port, you know, which is really incredible. But, you know, I like the rocks back there. I like how in focus we are. The lighting is perfect. The character models, like Farron, doesn't clip in any ugly way. She's got some really nice cloth and colors on her. We've got me here. You know, my mini feels cool right now. I don't know what it is. It's just POF, but I'm super into the way that the game looks right now. So anyway, here's the achievement. We get 30 seconds to squish these piles of bugs, which you could do on your first time through, definitely. But here we're doing it on our second one. I've made all my arguments for why I think that's fine. And I'm actually really happy to see that this team embraced this idea. I'm using the roller beetle as well, which is kind of, this is a weird sort of hidden mechanic of the roller beetle, extra incentive for picking it up, same release obviously, but PT can absolutely destroy scarab piles very, very fast. It's something we don't get to really embrace or look at much, because as soon as this release is over, the Scarab Plague and that whole thing is no longer a mechanic because Joko's gone and the threat is gone. I would very, very, very much like to see in episode 6 that's coming up, if it's the finale especially, at just some point as this season goes forward, a lot of these odd things come back somehow. I'd love to play with that tar pile thing again, and at the same time, you know, that holding the arm and getting all those special stealth abilities. I'd like to see those mechanics come back. I'd like to see all kinds of things. Kind of like how Season 3 filtered through the combo abilities with Aurene, and then it all manifested again in the big boss fight against Balthazar at the end of POF. That kind of stuff I think the devs should do more of. Because, again, they get more value out of their prior development efforts, but also it stops the player base constantly having to relearn the wheel every time they want to shake up that core gameplay experience. So, yeah, that's just what I thought about when I was doing the squishing bugs thing. It was really easy. I just drove around there. I didn't use any skills or anything. And, you know, I had 30 seconds. And I must have done that in, what, less than 10 easily? And so now we're on the final achievement, which I can't remember what it's called. But basically we're going to fight a boss here. And in the middle of the boss fight, he's going to try and cast a spell that will awaken my allies. Now, what I found really interesting about this is that he doesn't seem to do that the first time we play the mission. So how do I describe this? Basically, he's going to get a break bar, and it's our job to break the break bar. It's an extremely forgiving break bar. I think the team that made this release had a very good idea with break bars, in that almost any kind of CC gets through them a lot of the time. It's just they're very frequent. Like, if you look at the Joko fight, they're very frequent, and then they use environmental weapons, those bones, to, you know, pad out people who don't have enough hard CC on their builds. I'm on sword focus, so I have plenty, right? Anyway, it's a really cool idea, but you're breaking a break bar. It's very easy to break, and if you don't break it, he casts this spell and he awakens your allies. But what I found really weird is when I played this the first time through tonight, I was watching really closely, and no break bar ever appears. So that either means that on your initial playthrough, he always awakens and you can't do it, or it means on your second playthrough, he does awaken. It's kind of like, there's a whole new mechanic in this boss fight that opens up just on your second playthrough, which is kind of like Nightmare Moat territory that we saw with, you know, the end of Heart of Thorns. So here, he does it below 75%, there it is. So I just comet him, and it breaks it instantly, and that's it. He will only ever attempt it once the entire fight. There you can actually see me cancel casting my Gust, because I don't know whether I'll need that again for later. But there you go, he goes to 50, and that's it. So that achievement was called Stay Asleep Sheep. So yeah, they kind of do unlock another mechanic of the fight, as far as I can see. Only on your second time through. And again, I still think there's a lot of value in that Nightmare Moat idea, and some possibility. Nightmare Moat's a weird one because it was doing two things at once. It was a hard mode incentive to play a story thing, which is a beautiful, incredible, like, Pandora's box of a concept, to be honest. But it was that, first and foremost. But then it was also a party incentive to play story, because it was actually, like, recommended 5 players. And that's a different Pandora's box, right? On another shelf. And they kind of opened both together, and obviously decided they didn't like the idea very much. But I wonder whether they weren't granular enough. And so far, you know, Balthazar never had a Nightmare Moat. Joko never had a Nightmare Moat. And when the finale comes around and we defeat Kralkatorrik, which is what I'm presuming this will boil down to before the next expansion, I wonder whether he'll have one. But if they do, you know, new mechanics unlocking in the middle could certainly be very fun. Here we get a really nice Swelling Winds. So, yeah, we're done with the achievements, by the way. I just thought I'd leave this last little bit in the video so you guys can see a little bit of Weaver gameplay and how we feel it performed in this fight here. You know, in terms of damage and stuff. It feels a bit low pressure, and it feels a bit squishy to me. Like, I have to think a lot more while doing this and balance a lot more cooldowns than if I was on many other classes. But hey. And there you go. That's pretty much the end of the instance. Really beautiful stuff. I don't know whether it's just the post-processing at Amnoon or what, but here you can see, like, even in first... Oh, no, that's not Lich speaking. That's Palava speaking. But, yeah, I like the zoomed-in approach, and I'll have to keep an eye out and see whether that's, like, a global fix that's come to the game or just something specific to playing an Asura in this instance. In any case, hope you guys enjoyed. I got my meta now. Let me know what you think about any of these topics, and I'll see you next time.